This was an exciting thing. Well, I guess exciting, but baffling as well. For this to have gone into the news, Oscars will now require members to see all nominated films before voting to determine Academy Award winners. Why this has not been a requirement until literally just now is insane. We saw a lot of insider or anonymous voters last award season coming out and said that they hadn't watched Dune Part 2. Several of them. That Entertainment Weekly actually covered that story, and there were several anonymous voters saying they just didn't get around to it, that they had a bad day, they weren't really in the right headspace, and that they had to go see their therapist or whatnot, just every excuse in the book. And they still voted, which is crazy. If you're not able to get around to it, fine, but you shouldn't vote then. I couldn't believe it when I saw this. And I don't know about that part of awards ceremonies, like what's the requirement, what's the rules. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I just assumed though that if you are a voting member that you will have watched the movies or whatever nominees to vote. So I don't know, Dune Messiah, Dune 3, or Villeneuve's third film, now might have a better chance if its members are actually voting, or even if they don't get around to seeing it, they can't vote then. So they have these new rules to ensure some sort of integrity. The Academy announced a new set of rules that will require voting members to have seen all nominated films to qualify to vote in competitive categories. And how long has this been around? Almost 100 years, and now they just have this as a rule? And the issue that I had with it, clearly there was this bias of genre films, like sci-fi and fantasy films. It's just so easily dismissed from the voting members. And that's why Dune Part 2 didn't really have a chance, at least in the minds of those sample size of the voting members, didn't get around to it because they just weren't into it. They didn't really care for Dune Part 1, and they thought, well, I don't want to see another 3-hour Dune film. But they still voted, which is crazy. What other ceremonies? I assume they're all like similar rules. If they don't have rules to ensure its members see the things that they're voting on, I assume it's like that for other award ceremonies that we just didn't know about. The entire history of the Academy Awards has now been thrown into question because there was no integrity in the awards process. But I guess maybe the future will be different. We have Project Hail Mary coming out, and of course there's already been another genre film as well. Sinners just came out, and now it has a better chance. Like sci-fi and fantasy will have a better chance because a lot of these Academy Award members were just very snooty, I guess, when it came to those genre films. And it's just something that's been suspected, but now has just been confirmed. Project Hail Mary and Dune Messiah, these will now have a better chance at just legitimate consideration. We'll see if this will make any difference. Could it be the end of genre bias or recency bias? We'll just have to wait and see, but I guess this is a good step forward. It's just absolutely insane that it's taken this long, because I think most people just assumed that this was a rule, that if you are a member of the Academy, we just assumed that you were all making informed decisions. That's another big thing too. Netflix spends tens of millions of dollars. And this came out just several years ago. They've been really striving for Academy Awards recognition, and they're prepared to spend tens of millions of dollars in its campaign, just a campaign for the film. That's what they call it. It's just strange because the films themselves and the actors themselves, you would think their work should speak for itself, that they shouldn't have to campaign, hit the campaign trail just for the members to see their movies and to advocate for them. It should be a true celebration of cinema and its achievements. This just seems a bit corrupt, these millions and millions of dollars being spent campaigning alone. Star Wars should have won Best Picture. There's so many, when you go back through the years of Best Picture winners, no one's even heard of the films that actually won. And then there are films that legitimately have stood the test of time that didn't get proper recognition. There was another thing too, where members were voting for Adrian Brody because they thought that Ralph Fiennes had already won an Oscar. People were wrong, but that was the determining factor for voting for Adrian Brody, someone who has actually already won. That was an issue too. Like, what are we even doing? And now all of this stuff has now been thrown into question. Any number of arbitrary reasons. Certain films just weren't given their due credit for cinematic achievements. That's why the term Oscar bait exists. We all kind of knew that there was this weird bias against these films because otherwise Oscar bait, that term just wouldn't be around. But we can sense when something is trying to be made just to get that acclaim. I think Netflix has really been trying hard, and they probably would have won if it wasn't for that scandal that came out for Emilia Perez. But that's just insane that it got as many awards that it did. But now, if you don't get around to watching it, fine, but you don't get to vote. They should have a mid-season nomination around July. A lot of movies released before July are forgotten. And Dune Part 2, it had a delayed release date. It initially was supposed to come out the previous November and was pushed due to the actor strike. They wanted to have their actors on the red carpet to enjoy the promotion of it and to talk about the film freely in its marketing, so they had to push it back. A lot of niche films or original films or small indie films get released before summertime. But it proved that good films can do well in March. So I think Project Hail Mary actually releases in March of 2026. I think it's going to do really well. Now that we know, they'll get around to watching it. But I think they have rules for they can track through an app when you watch the movie, where you saw it, and all of that. So they're tracking all of that information. That's how they're regulating it, I guess. Interestingly enough, some more news dropped right after I had just finished talking about the new Oscars rules on my most recent live stream. Some more news came out about this, and Oscar voters are apparently now bragging about the loopholes that they found in getting around watching these films and tricking the app into thinking they've watched it when they actually haven't. While prominent Academy voters have said that they feel like it's a tiny minority of the membership that game the system like this kind of attitude from even some of the voters is enough for people like me to hesitate having hope that the biases of Hollywood awards bodies will be in any way curtailed. Overall, if these awards bodies can't meaningfully rectify these issues, it just makes me sad for the sci-fi and fantasy films that I love. I know that many of the people involved with these projects still value these awards and will work to get their contributions recognized by these bodies. But I'm curious to know what you think of this news about the Academy's attempts to fix these issues with their voters. Do you have any hope that we'll ever see a time where genre films won't see such prejudice? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more sci-fi and fantasy news, theories, and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, you can leave a super thanks or join as a YouTube member for early access to new videos and other perks. You can also check out my Patreon page for exclusive content. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.